go. What up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the 2Smart Dummies podcast. As always, I'm your host, Marcus.
And I'm your host, B. Reed.
Beatty, what's up, man?
Nothing much, man. About ready for the college football playoffs.
Yeah, I really don't need to see anything else until I see LSU and Ohio State.
So it's looking like, man.
But
then again, Ohio State plays Michigan this week, John Harbaugh can change his narrative at Michigan. If not, he's close to getting fired.
Which is crazy. They're gonna win 9 games a year.
I don't think they'll fire. I don't think that's unrealistic fans talking. I mean, if you could squeeze out 8, 9 games a year, but then again, it is Michigan, so their expectations might be high. But I don't see him getting fired. I don't even think wasn't there a report saying that his job's not even up. Like there's no insecurity about his job. I thought that came out after he lost early in the year.
I think that was from fans. There's no way Michigan fires Jim Harbaugh.
That's what I was saying. I thought that somebody from Michigan came and said, nah, there's no way he's getting fired.
Yeah, I don't see it happening. Pac-12 pretty much done. Playoff. Utah still has a shot if they win to get into the college football playoff, which I actually really want to see. Other than that, just chalk. By the way, Texas people, hang it the fuck up, man. Y'all suck. Listen, the fact that Baylor was in complete shambles and has now surpassed you in 3 years after you gave Charlie Strong 2 years. Was it 2 years? 2.5?
I thought it was 2.5, 3. It was...
Whatever it was, y'all thought y'all found the second coming because this cat came in and won 8 games, whatever he won, 9 games, Tom Herman. I don't even think they interviewed anyone else. They just basically handed him the job. And
that was my point about Tom Herman that pissed me off. Y'all gotta remember, at Houston, when he coached at Houston, he probably had one of the better Houston teams that Houston has ever had, and he fucked that up. He had, I think it was Greg Ward was the quarterback. He had 2 receivers that was seniors and ready to go. That was supposed to be NFL caliber receivers. The dude they got drafted, that was his big recruit. He was he came in as a defensive end, but he used to be a linebacker. He got drafted last year. You know what I'm talking about? They came from Houston.
Don't remember.
It was a big defensive end that got drafted in the top 10 that people took. Oliver.
Ed Oliver.
Yeah, I think he was a linebacker as a freshman there when Herman was there.
Yeah.
That team was set to win at least 10 games. They had been rolling. This dude came in and won 8 games or some shit like that at Houston. And everybody's like, oh, well, this. If you got the best talent in a smaller conference and you can't win 10, how are you going to win in Texas?
And I know that they're not going to fire him after this year. Probably
they
can't.
Should. If they started strong, they would have.
If he weren't a certain pigmentation, he'd have been fired by now. Because then you had Sam Ehlinger come in and, Texas Nation, I'm back. And, in Texas, y'all suck. If you are letting that talent like Texas A&M, even Texas Tech, Baylor, all these teams are better than Texas. And as I said, Baylor was in absolute shambles after the mess with the head coach. His name Art Briles. This was a program they were talking about getting the death penalty, and now here they are, top 10 in the country.
Yeah, well, I will say that. How close is Baylor to Houston? It seemed like that.
To Houston, not super close. Probably 4 hours.
Nah, because I'm wondering. It seems like a lot of Houston recruits go to Baylor, but they turned around. The thing about Baylor is Baylor has that offense, but for some reason, wherever they're at, they get a shitload of defensive players that are fast as fuck and can hit hard.
Yeah, Baylor's basically it's in between Dallas and Austin.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, Baylor, their defense, whenever they're good, that's the thing. A lot of Big 12 teams, they're good because of offense. But there's only 2 teams that are good because of defense, and that's TCU and Baylor. Baylor can score, but when they're really good, their defense is really good, and Baylor has a good defense. That's the one thing in Texas, for some reason, ever since Texas A&M went to the SEC, Texas defense have not been getting the defensive recruits that they used to get. That they took Texas A&M for granted, and that's kind of split their recruiting because now you can go to Texas A&M, and yeah, it's not Texas, but you go to play in the SEC. So you put an SEC school in Texas, and I think that's really hurt Texas recruiting because now they're really splitting with Oklahoma and Texas A&M, and they're not getting the bulk of the talent that you used to see come out of Texas. Oklahoma expanded their horizon because now they're moving out towards California and New Mexico, and they're still getting some Texas recruits. But I don't know where else Texas recruits from. Like, they don't have this big base outside of Texas.
Well, and they're cocky, right? It's like, we're Texas and everyone else is not. Well, Texas hasn't been good in a decade.
So. Yeah, when you can choose, okay, well, I can go to Texas, or I can go to Baylor, or I can go to Texas A&M, and I can play in the SEC. SEC is sending more people to the NFL than, you know what I mean?
Or I can go to Arkansas.
No.
Okay.
No.
Yep. Just wanted to make sure. Yep. Anyway, that's all the college football news we got today. Ain't shit changed.
You gonna quit disrespecting Oregon now? Oregon just shook up the college football playoff, man. You don't want to believe it, man. Oregon shook it up though.
Oregon lost. Well, who cares? They're out. See ya. Two losses.
But you still got Utah.
I said that early in the program. Utah has the only chance from the Pac-12 to get in. They've got to go and win the Pac-12 championship in order to do so, and they still might not get in.
This is the big question that I have for you because it changed. Because the whole argument with me of Oregon getting in is that Oregon lost to Auburn. Utah, who do they lose to? They don't have a quality loss. They lost to USC, who's bad.
Well, USC's ranked in the top 25 for whatever that's worth, but
yeah, but they don't got the respect of Auburn. So I'm saying even if Utah makes it and they beat Oregon and they got one loss, does Utah have a chance to get in over a one loss? Even if Bama has one loss Bama team or one loss OU team, does Utah get in over?
I think Bama's going to lose to Georgia.
I think Bama's going to lose to Auburn.
I think they could lose to Auburn, and this could be a moot discussion because
Bama's not going to play Georgia. LSU's going to play.
Oh, you're right. Yep. So I think they're going to lose to Auburn. So I think Alabama's toast. That defense stinks. They don't have a quarterback.
Let's just say they don't, though. Let's do a hypothetical. They don't lose, right? And they beat Auburn. So Alabama beats Auburn. And at the end of the year, you have a one-loss Auburn team. You have a one-loss Bama team, one-loss Utah team, a one-loss Minnesota team to Ohio State. I keep forgetting about them. What if they only have one loss and a one-loss OU team? Who gets in? One spot. Who gets in?
I think it's going to be Utah.
Over Minnesota and OU?
Because, Minnesota's not beating Ohio State.
No, that means they have one loss. Minnesota's undefeated right now, right?
No, they lost.
Who did Minnesota lose to?
They lost to Penn State last week. Or, not Penn State. They lost to...
Because Minnesota beat Penn State.
Yeah, Minnesota lost to somebody last week. Was it Iowa State? They lost to somebody last week.
They got a bad loss then, all right.
Yeah, so...
I thought they were still undefeated. I must have missed that one.
Minnesota's out.
Yeah, they're 10-1.
They lost last week. So I think Utah gets in just because a USC loss is better than a Kansas State loss or whoever the hell Oklahoma lost to. I think Alabama, if they were a 10-win team, I don't think they get in. I just don't. And they really have no case.
Yeah, I know you're an Arkansas fan.
Oh, but at the end of the day, I'm rooting for the SEC. But No,
I said I know you're an Arkansas fan because you have no idea how these college football playoffs work. There's no way they're taking Utah over Oklahoma. Strictly by money.
Pac-12 winner should get in.
Yeah. If it's if it's UCLA, USC, some shit like that, they are not taking Utah over Oklahoma when it comes to money. It's just not happening.
I cannot argue that.
Oh, you can travel west and east. I don't think they're good. Like, don't give me that. But hell, Baylor might have a better chance. Utah getting over Baylor, but it's gonna be close. If it's Utah and Baylor at the end of the day, it's still gonna be close. But I know where they get in over OU. Too much money.
We'll see. I don't
With
think
Jalen
any
Hurts,
teams are better than LSU or Ohio State, so I really don't care anyway.
Ohio State.
Look, that's all I want to see. I don't care about anything else. That's all I want to see.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I would like to see them together.
Yeah.
I'm an OU fan. I gotta have hope that we might get our shit together. It ain't gonna happen, but you never know.
All I want if it ain't that those two teams playing, I do not care. Let's get to the NFL. So this was a kind of a shitty week of football. A lot of good games on the slate, but not a lot of good games played on the field.
Yeah, I mean there were some games that were close, but I mean even the New England Dallas game, like New England is winning, but it's all defense. It looks different than what we've seen before. Like Brady doesn't look like Brady, although it's not the playoffs. It's a different Brady in the playoffs. Brady looks like he's really struggling, but then when you say that, you got to go back to look at his weapons. You know, he's out there. At least he has Edelman, but other than that, he has Jacoby Myers and no tight end, no Gronk. Sony Michel looks like a shell of himself. He's throwing to Rex Burkhead. Like he's really lacking weapons.
I agree, and I think if it had been different, if they played that game in Dallas, I think Dallas wins that game.
The weather had a lot to do with that. They couldn't really throw it downfield and do a lot of the things that they want to do with Gallup.
But that's bad coaching
Cooper.
Because exactly what Dallas should have done, they didn't do. You should have ran Zeke 30 times.
Why are they acting like they trying to save Zeke?
Right, like they don't need this game. You know what I mean? Like.
Last year, it seemed like they ran him 500 times, then you give him his money. Now, I'm not saying just wear him out, but shit, that's what you paid him for. You paid him early because you needed him.
Especially in a game like this, where it's crucial to have him. So, whatever. Jason Garrett, you think he's fired?
By the comments that Jerry Jones made after the game, they better not lose the division. I know that.
The next coach of the Dallas Cowboys. Well, yeah, for sure. There's no wild card hope for them if they don't win the division.
They lost to Seattle too.
They're saying that Nick Saban could be the next Dallas Cowboys coach, which for me, why? Didn't show that he could coach in the pros the first time around. College coaches typically especially an old school coach, typically has a harder time adjusting to the NFL because these players get paid more than him, and they ain't got to listen to this fool. They don't give a damn what you did at Alabama. So I have a hard time believing that.
Yeah, I can't see Nick Saban going back because, he's
damn near 70 years old.
Yeah, but it's also about control, man. I think the times that he's failed is because of the control issues that he had, and he's gonna have even less control in Dallas. At least in Miami when he went there, he was like a GM and a coach. He goes to Dallas, you're not even. You know what I'm saying? You got Jerry Jones, you got Steven Jones. You don't even have control of your coaching staff. Like, they might just throw a coach on you because I can't see them getting rid of, who's their OC? Kellen
Moore.
Kellen Moore? There ain't no way Jerry's getting rid of Kellen Moore.
No.
So you're going to go there and you're not even going to get to pick your coaching staff? There's no way Saban goes to Dallas. But Dallas did, they lost this game, which they really needed because when you look at the division, the Eagles are playing bad, but the Eagles has the easiest schedule in the NFL for the next 4 or 5 weeks. Like they got Miami, the Giants twice. Let's see, the Giants, Washington, and Miami. So 4 of those games, you know what I'm saying, are just bad teams. You got Giants twice, Washington, and Miami. And then I don't know who the Dallas Cowboys have, but Dallas Cowboys started off their season light early. So the only chance they have is that they play, I think, the Eagles at the end of the year. But if they don't win most of their games, like at least 500, and hope the Eagles drop some, they could be out just by default. The Eagles are sitting there at 5-6, and they're sitting there at 6-5. You're looking at a game. So if they lose that division, it should be interesting, especially with the amount of money that Jerry Jones paying out. And that's pretty much what he's saying. I'm paying too much money, and he's about to have to pay Dak $38-40 million a year. Yeah, they're going to have to get a real coach in there, but he's going to have to let go of some control, too.
The San Francisco 49ers proved that they are, if there were any doubts, they should be gone. Not only did they beat the Packers, they beat the hell out of the Packers. Yeah. 37-8, and, it wasn't even that close.
Bad, too.
Yeah, they beat the Packers they showed that the Packers aren't even in their class. Which the Packers have looked sketchy 2 of the last 3 weeks. They got the hell beat out of them by the Chargers a couple weeks ago, and they got demolished last night. Packers are going to make the
Minnesota.
playoffs. That division is between them and the Vikings. So I think both of those teams get in, but
I mean,
I'm back to
I think
thinking
that the
the
Packers
Packers
are a
are who
good
I thought
team.
they were.
They're just limited because of pass catching options. I mean, once you take away, if you can take away those running backs out the backfield, then there's really nobody else that can beat you. You know what I'm saying? If you press down and take away Aaron Jones or Williams, then Jimmy Graham is a shell of himself. One time I seen Aaron Rodgers throw it to Devontae Adams, and there were 7 people around him. I don't even know how that's possible. Like, it was a zone, but it was literally like 5 people around him. Right. And I'm like, how the hell does that happen? And none of the other receivers can get open. So just the sheer fact that they're so limited with offensive weapons, I think that the defense is good. I mean, defense is decent, but you can only be out there so many times. I just really think that they need another receiver in the offseason. If they really go to get Devontae Adams some help to put somebody on the other side of him, I think that the Packers will be a problem because Aaron Jones is better than I thought he was. Williams is a nice compliment as a pass-catching option. And I think Balaga went out too, didn't he, that game? Yeah, shit. You definitely can't have that against that defensive line.
Yep.
When your best offensive lineman goes out and you're going against San Francisco defensive line.
Yep.
So I don't think that the Packers are a bad team. I just think they were in a bad situation. And they're always going to have trouble with any good secondary that can really and fast linebackers that can take those running backs out the game because they don't have any other pass-catching options. I double-team Devontae Adams and then make sure that there's a man-to-man coverage on any of those running backs on the outside and then force everybody else to beat me one-on-one.
So, I got something to say. I said this yesterday. As a Memphis Grizzlies fan, I think for some reason I should be a Titans fan because they are basically the grit and grind version in the NFL. Like, the Titans, I mean, they win ugly a lot, but that defense, and you know I've been saying it since the beginning of the year, that defense is for fucking real. Their offense at times leaves them hanging, but the Titans don't get blown out, and you know usually they don't blow. I mean, the score versus Jacksonville was 42-20, but at one point I think it was 35-3. So
I like their coach. I mean, I think that I think
Tennessee's
if they
a good
get a
team.
solid, like they just taking out Mariota and putting in Tannehill, that team looks a lot better, a lot more dangerous. But if you actually can get a quarterback back there that can throw, they have weapons. Like, I'm not completely out on Corey Davis. I don't think he's the number one receiver everyone thought. But I do think A.J. Brown is. So if you can make A.J. Brown the number one receiver and Corey Davis is a complement with Jonnu Smith and Derrick Henry, and you got Derrick Henry. Looks like since the end of last year, he's now looking like a quality. He looks like Leonard Fournette. Like maybe a better version of Leonard Fournette. So, I mean, I think this is a good team. I just think they need some stability at quarterback. Tannehill's done a good job, but you don't want to fucking depend on Tannehill. You know what I mean? So, I hope they don't make the mistake of giving Tannehill money because he looked good or in the offseason going to sign like somebody like Kyle Allen. Like, they need to get a decent quarterback in there that can stabilize, a young, decent quarterback that can stabilize that offense. Which is not easy. That's not easy. There's a lot of bad quarterbacks in the NFL.
No.
A lot.
Say,
before we go on, talking about the quarterback, I saw you make the comment that, you got all these bad quarterbacks in the NFL and Cap still in the NFL. I do want to correct something. So last week, we were talking about how Cap didn't go to that workout or, this and that, and we were confused. Well, did you hear that they were trying to get him to sign that waiver? And in that waiver, if he had signed that waiver, then he would never have been able to sue the NFL again or something like that? Yeah, so now I understand why he didn't go. Yep. He didn't sign the waiver, so it totally makes sense now. Before I was really confused, but now I understand why he would switch things up. Because if you go there, it's kind of a setup. Because you go in there, you work out for it, you sign the paper, you sign away your rights to sue him, basically saying there's no collusion. I've already been on him for saying that he shouldn't have took the settlement. He should have just, worked out the court case so we could talk about it. But then you go sign the waiver to say, there's no collusion or whatever. Do the workout, and then the NFL has total control over all the film they're sending the teams. That's bad for him all the way around. So I do agree he should have did his own private workout. I don't know if that's going to result in him actually being able to get back in the NFL, but he may have another case for collusion though.
It's not. I think that's more likely. Again, I don't think Colin Kaepernick ever plays in the NFL again. I just don't. But I want to address something. I have learned after yesterday, not learned, I kind of always known this. I need the Mike Tomlin disrespect to stop. Because this man is a really, really good head coach. His team does some dumb shit in the playoffs. Penalties usually kill them in the playoffs, or they have one mishap that always costs them a game somehow. But this dude with limited weapons on offense, nothing at the quarterback position, it has his team in the playoffs as we sit today. And for the most part, the Steelers under him, regardless of the Super Bowl, have always been in contention. Now, I don't think they're a contending team this year, but to do what he's doing, I'm not saying he's coach of the year.
Yeah, so my thing with the coach of the year I always have a problem with is coach of the year is always for the team that does really, really good with a lot of talent. You know what I mean? So coach of the year will probably go to Kyle Shanahan. Isn't he the coach of the Niners? Something like that. You know, and they are doing good. They do have a crazy jump, but I mean, it's kind of like, you know, you were injured all last year and everybody's back healthy now. You know what I mean? Everybody on their team got injured last year. Now they come back healthy and woo, Kyle Shanahan is coaching his team. But I really think coach of the year should be for somebody like Mike Tomlin. Lost Ben Roethlisberger, lost AB, you know what I'm saying, lost linebackers, and he's still able to get his team to the playoffs. But you don't see those guys get coach of the year. You see the guys that's winning because everything's about winning. But it's harder to coach when everything's against you. Like I said, I know the one thing Tomlin regrets is trading, what is his name, Josh Dobbs, because he had an outstanding preseason, and I guess they were trying to capitalize off of his preseason, thinking, oh, we got Ben and Mason can sit there. But you never know, man. You got to keep quality quarterbacks. People discard quality quarterbacks just thinking, we're good. Man, if they would have kept Dobbs, they would have done much better this season just because Dobbs can use his legs. You know what I mean? Even if he has bad passing games, you put him with Samuels and Connor, they could have did some different things and been more successful. Mason Rudolph is terrible. Whenever you can't complete passes to the dude you played like 3 years with in college, that's a problem. You know what I mean? So they went back to Craig, what is his name? Hodges? Devlin Hodges, or who the fuck? It's awful, man. It's awful.
Devlin Hodges.
So, I mean, I respect what Tomlin's doing. I respect what he's putting together. I like the scheme. He's shown the ability to adjust, even if it's just running a wildcat. He doesn't care. It's just all about winning with him, and I respect that. Like I said, I think if you get in the playoffs, even though like they're lacking talent, I think they still will be a hard out because he's smart enough to just control the clock, depend on the defense, wear the game down to keep it within one possession or a field goal, and then just wait for you to fuck up.
Don't look now, but your Cleveland Browns and our New York Jets quietly put together 3 good games in a row. I think both these teams missed the playoffs, but because just a little too late. I'm more encouraged by the Jets because they're healthy and they look fast. They look good. I think that the Browns have run into a very favorable stretch of their schedule.
Which we knew was going to happen.
Yeah, and I'm still not convinced that they're any good. But I still have a problem with their coaching. I just think they're an easy part of their I think they're an easy part of their schedule. But the Jets have shown that and look, they caught the Raiders. The Raiders shouldn't have got off the bus yesterday. The Raiders were not motivated. One of the worst roughing the passer penalties I've ever seen in my life go against the Raiders, and that kind of killed any momentum that they had going. The Jets scoring the next play after your defense gets a crucial stop. That's tough, but at the end of the day, they beat the hell out of the Raiders, regardless of some of that bad officiating.
That's what I was trying to warn you about, man. We was talking about this before. I mean, I'm not saying that, I told you, but I was trying to warn you about that. They're saying at the easy stretch, because all those teams are just like you guys. You know what I'm saying? They're bipolar teams. You never know when they can put together a good game. And the Jets is a good example. They was out without their quarterback for 6 weeks, and C.J. Mosley's been hurt since week 1. You know what I'm saying? They've had a ton of injuries on offense, defense. They were talking about during the game of how much salary that they have on like their injured reserve or IR. I mean, you talking about Quincy Inua, whatever his name is. C.J. Mosley. Like, they just have a ton of players that are beat up and hurt. But now they're learning to play without that. So they're what we thought they were going to be at the beginning of the year, and I think they can close out strong. And next year, that may be a problem. I don't think Le'Veon's ever going to be Le'Veon again, man. Unfortunately.
No, you know what? He has not looked great.
Not yet.
And I don't think he's the same back. And I mean, you kind of him and Todd Gurley. I think they're both.
Yeah, but at least Todd Gurley, you can say. I mean, injuries have just taken hold. I mean, it's like kind of like Dwayne Wade's knee. I mean, it can only take so much, man. I understand why his agent probably pushed for that money up front to get him that money because his knees are just bad. I mean, at some point in time, I think he's going to be – I don't ever think you see the Todd Gurley that we saw 2 years ago. That guy –
You can't. I don't think – that guy. Yeah, I don't think it's in him.
But if you can get, D'Angelo Henderson, is that his name? The dude who came from Memphis?
Yeah.
If you can get that cat right there going for next year and then have Gurley as a complimentary back, you know what I'm saying, then they could put together a system that works because he's still, Gurley can still do a lot of different things, even if it's just pass pro and protecting the quarterback. But, I mean, he just doesn't have the explosiveness that we've seen before. Even when he gets the ball, it doesn't even look the same.
Anything else you want to touch on before we get to the basketball?
No. My Eagles are trash. Cowboys are trash. I think the Eagles will win the division by default, but I don't feel good about it at all. It's kind of the same what I said with OU. Might make the playoffs just to get our ass kicked and disappoint me again. So, no, I'm cool.
Yeah. Although I will say, next week, must-see TV, Ravens, 49ers. Yeah. That's appointment television.
Now, man, that's the craziest part about it is, I remember them. I got a lot of the picks wrong. But the Seahawks pick, even in the middle of the year, when you were asking who do you think the best team is, and I was like, I think the Seahawks are the best team, I was in the minority at that point. I don't think I'm in the minority anymore. The Seahawks are a good fucking team, man.
They're a good team. I don't know that they're better than the Niners, but they're a good team.
They beat the Niners, though, head-to-head, so you can't say they're not.
Yeah, I gotta see part two.
I think Russell Wilson's up for the challenge, man. Russell Wilson's he's man.
I agree. I like
Russell Wilson is our Jordan, man.
Yeah. Let's get to the NBA, man. For those of y'all that don't know, Luka Doncic is a bad dude. This cat's getting triple doubles, 40, 15, and 11, and he's scoring 35 in 22 minutes. If you guys are not watching this dude, I don't know what you're watching because he is incredible. And I got to disagree with you on something. I changed my mind. I like the package that Atlanta got. I'd rather have Doncic. I'd rather have Doncic than what they've got. I will always choose a generational player over an all-star and a potential good package because you still have a chance to fuck that package up.
Yeah, I mean,
I know what I'm getting done.
You say that, but shit, I think I might be in the minority early, but I think Trae Young's generational package. Don't take away anything Doncic doing. Doncic is nice. He's nice. You know what I'm saying? He's a generational talent, like you said. He's one of the better players that we've seen in the NBA. He's a complete player and does everything that you're supposed to. And I'm not even arguing against that. Dude's incredible, man. The plays that he makes, it's really how easy he makes it look. It's kind of like when we first saw Dirk. Like, shit, man, this dude scores so easy. And we talking about, the physicality. Like, there's nothing that you can really do to stop it just because they score so easy. So I ain't taking away from that. But I think Trae Young is just the same. I mean, Doncic is killing, but Trae Young is too. You know what I'm saying? I think Trae Young is averaging something like 25-9 or 25-10. Dude shoots from everywhere. So generational talent, I think they both are. So all my point is that you get a generational talent and then you get another player, you know what I'm saying, another top 10 player. I think that's a good package for an up-and-coming team like Atlanta as opposed to Dallas, who needed a star to replace Dirk. So I think it was a good play for both teams just because Dallas got the player that they needed, and I think that Atlanta got exactly what they needed for their rebuild. But
I agree with you. I agree with the reasons that they did the trade. Like I said, so
I don't think Doncic. I think Doncic in Atlanta would be good. Like, I think he would still be the guy, but
Atlanta's not a basketball city.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
And it's not a city that's gonna probably get behind an international superstar like this.
I don't think they would have appreciated it. Like as we're talking
Correct.
about right now, we see Doncic all the time. We barely see Trae Young. You know what I mean?
Correct.
And you don't see it as much, but Dallas is a city where he can thrive because they embrace international talent. They're going to go, they're going to go what they do this offseason. Went and got Kristaps Porzingis to put a talent around him. Now he has weapons, and they're number 4 in the West. They're 11-5. Nobody predicted. Like, we thought they might contend for the playoffs, and it's early, but they look like a really good team.
Yep. And like I said, the Suns drafting Aiden, that's defensible. I get it. I would have taken Doncic. I said that at the time. I was bullish on Doncic. Have we been doing the podcast this long? Because I feel like you and I have been talking about. Wow,
we've been doing this shit. I think we've been doing shit like 3 years.
Damn.
Colin,
but yeah, so you and I have been on Doncic. But Aiden,
I'll say I had
Bagley.
Been on Doncic. I was late to the Doncic bandwagon.
Well, I was on Doncic even before the draft. I mean, I knew I wanted the Grizzlies to get this cat if possible. Bagley, I said they should have taken Doncic, and then of course Atlanta, they did what they did. But
and you saw that thing about and I like Bagley, so I think that's another one where you can nitpick, but the only reason we're not talking about Bagley this year is because Bagley got hurt, and he's been hurt for the last 4 to 6 weeks. But Bagley,
yeah, but I never saw him over Doncic.
Bagley's
like,
good.
I never thought.
I'm saying
he is a good player.
End of last year, Bagley was really good, so we don't know what Bagley would have been this year. Like,
I don't think Bagley is generational.
I don't know, man. Bagley,
I think he's a
lot,
really good
bro.
player.
I think we're getting caught in the moment. Bagley will be back in a couple of weeks. I think you're gonna see Bagley. He does everything, man. He's 6'10". He can handle the ball. He can shoot the ball. He can rebound the ball. He does everything. That dude is a good, really, really good player. So I don't want to make that proclaiming now. But I did see that Lottie Vidoc thing where they were saying that Lottie didn't draft Doncic because he had a problem with his dad. Didn't you say that to me?
Yeah, which he said was untrue.
Oh, he said it was untrue? That would be the dumbest reason to pass up on somebody like Luka. But the
with that said, don't look now. Those Sacramento Kings are coming. De'Aaron Fox getting hurt might have been the best thing for him because they can see what they've got in Bogdanovich, who's that dude is
he
real.
turned down his contract, right? They've been trying to re-sign him and he refused to.
Because he wants to start.
I think he should.
And I think he's good enough.
You know the problem with him is he's the so he came over so late. Like, so you don't know what his ceiling is. Like, I thought he was young, and I'm gonna say this, it's still young, but in NBA years, he's like 26 or 27.
I was about to say, I think he's 26 years old.
Yeah, so 26 and 27 now. What I will say is international players, when they come over that late, tend to last a little longer than NBA players. I don't even know why. I guess because the game is less physical over there, because those dudes be playing pro at like 14. But they still end up playing to like late in their 30s. But at some point, we're going to have to start talking about De'Aaron Fox like we talk about John Wall. Like, I think he's kind of the cause of them starting off slow. And one of the reasons why they didn't take Doncic is because they already had De'Aaron Fox. And De'Aaron Fox doesn't shoot well enough to play off the ball. And you want Doncic to have the ball in his hand. So you already spent the pick on Fox. Then you turn around and you spend a pick on Doncic. Do you really want to do that? I mean, I don't know.
For me, look, if you're drafting that high in the draft, you just take the best player available because there's only so many players that can change your franchise in the NBA. Doncic is one of them. I thought that when he was coming in. I obviously think that now. If Memphis would have got him, I would have been through the roof.
Do you think they would have still made that decision if Luke Walton was the coach? If Luke Walton was coach, I think that they take Doncic.
I think so too.
I think the reason why they didn't.
I think they should have taken Doncic in the.
I think the reason why they didn't is because your boy was the coach and he didn't like Doncic's style because he doesn't like that free flowing, throwing up shots, kind of improvising type style.
And there's a reason he's not a coach in the NBA anymore.
So that's why it's important that you don't get these old school bad coaches because they'll hold you back. And that's the same thing I'll say like with Ryan Saunders. I like what Ryan Saunders is doing in Minnesota. He's an innovative young coach. He's not afraid to put his young talent in there, and that's totally different than Thibodeau. Like now, Ryan Saunders is playing Culver early. He's trying to find ways to get him in the game. Start him at point guard, shooting guard, small forward. Kata is Diop Bates, who they had sitting on the bench all last year, and he was like one of the best players in the summer league. All the rookies voted Kata Diop Bates as the surprise pick, like the best value pick. Like, you know, when they did that rookie poll last year before the season started, he didn't get in the fucking game last year. Now they're starting to play him and show their versatility. And this Minnesota team act like they have some talent, which they didn't look like they had last year. You guys
Right.
gotta be young. These young coaches are more willing to play players and find a fit for them as opposed to just sticking them in your system. You're a shooting guard, and if you can't do that, then you sit on the bench.
Correct. And again, that's why I don't think you see Tom Thibodeau coaching again. I don't think you're going to see Dave Yeager coaching again. Hell, you might not see Fitz after this season coaching again.
Fitz might not even make it become an assistant.
Yeah, I don't think Fitz makes it through the year. Rick Carlisle has been one of those that's adapted. There's successful coaches that are older, but yeah, you're starting to see this young wave of because we're in a brand new era, and so for those of y'all listening, we're going to release a all NBA podcast. We're going to talk about just how the NBA has changed in the past decade. From 2010 to now. I mean, you talk about when the Lakers won their last championship, which feels like, a long ass time ago, which was a decade. And how short people's runs are. We'll get into all that, but we're basically in a brand new NBA. Things have changed so much in the last few years, so you're gonna see that pod come out from us. But yeah, I agree with you. I think that you're starting to see young coaches are going to take over the league as well as they should, because old school coaches, while I think that there is a place for them, I don't think it's going to be in control of a lot of these young players' lives.
As an assistant, but we see in the NBA, it's funny because essentially, if you've been bad for a long time, you're gonna have talent on your team. It's just point blank period. Like, we shitted on Phoenix for like 2 years of just being shitty, but they're filled with talent.
Except for the Knicks.
But they have talent though, and they do, and that's kind of my problem with Fitz. So like I was saying, like we were kind of saying, and this is my point, we were kind of saying the same thing with Phoenix last year. Oh, they got this, blah blah blah. You get one good coach in there that's willing to, maneuver, use their talent, put people in situations that they can be successful, get people out of there that don't fit the system. Move out Josh Jackson. I don't give a fuck what pick you spent on them. Move them out. You know what I'm saying? And you start doing that, and you start seeing these teams get better. Fitz, my problem with Fitz is I thought that when he first came in, he did what he's supposed to do. You got your young talent, you make them earn it, you show them that you got to work for it, blah, blah, blah. This offseason comes in, and then you go sign a bunch of people that aren't going to do anything but push your young talent down. Taj Gibson.
And they play, and why would you sign? And that's not a Fitz deal, that's a Knicks deal, because, yeah, you bring in Taj Gibson, Marcus Morris, or whichever Morris.
He wanted those players. I think that's what,
but it's crazy.
If you didn't want them as a coach, like your GM can put players on you, but at the end of the day, it's your job. It's your job to play them. You know what I'm saying? So not only did Steve Mills, whatever, bring them in, but he's playing them. Like, he's starting Taj Gibson, Marcus Morris.
Yep.
Like, I understand Julius Randle. He's still young.
Julius Randle, I get. I'm cool with that one. But the other two,
like, why are you starting them?
Sense.
And you got Mitchell Robinson and Knox. Like, those people should be role players when they struggle.
Those are the guys that you need to develop.
Right now, there's no chance that the Knicks is going to the playoffs. So that's why you start Knox. You start Mitchell Robinson. I don't care if he gets in foul trouble. That's part of the learning process. You start Julius Randle. Why bring in Elfrid Payton when you just traded for Dennis Smith Jr. and you got Frank?
Yep. Let Dennis Smith cook. Let Frankie get in and cook.
You bring in Wayne Ellington,
I will say.
And you got Alonzo Trier sitting on the bench that look like it's dumb.
You have a lot of talent, at least talent that should be explored on this Knicks team.
See what you got.
Yeah, to go with RJ, you're gonna have a high draft pick next year. You know what I mean? See what you got.
I would have started Frank or Dennis Smith Jr. Personally, I would have started Dennis Smith Jr. because I would have started RJ and put RJ at point guard because that's the position he wanted to play. You put Dennis Smith Jr. out there as a quote unquote, he guards the point guard, but he plays off the ball because he's not a good decision maker. Then you go ahead and you go with Julius Randle, Kevin Knox for shooting, and Mitchell Robinson.
With Dennis Smith Jr., you got a player whose confidence is completely broken.
Because you're asking him to do things that he's not comfortable with.
You tear your ACL your first year. You come in, you butt heads with Rick Carlisle your second year. Now you get traded to the Knicks, and you got an idiot for a head coach who isn't really even willing to give you a shot. Like, this may get lost in the shuffle, but people forget how highly touted Dennis Smith Jr. was coming out of college, and for good reason. But you're looking at a guy who's just had a really bad shake to start out his career. But if you can, I would buy Fitz. Like, if you're not going to bring in a coach that's going to nurture that young talent, because as you said, you're not going anywhere anyway. You might as well see what you got.
Yeah, and then the more games they play, the more comfortable they get. Now, if you show, you get to see what you have by the end of the season. end of the season, you see what you have, and then you can start bringing in vets to fill in the holes. But
Correct.
if you just go with that roster, and then they should have just did something to hold the cap till like next year. They shouldn't have signed like all those players. But you
it made no sense. And now they signed all those guys to 1 year.
Yeah, I mean it's gonna
2
fall
years,
off. Yeah, all of them are gonna fall off except for Julius Randle.
But still, you should not have. That's just something you can't do. I want to bring something up real quick. See, so this is why the NBA is my favorite league out of all of them, because of the innovation. So now news comes out that they're talking about doing an in-season tournament, reseeding after the conference finals, play-in games for the playoffs. And the reason they want to do that is to kind of mirror and match the college basketball system as well as the EuroLeague. And as a team, as a fan of a team who typically does not compete for championships, I love this idea because it truly gives every fan something to root for. You get in-season tournaments like, oh, cool, yeah, I'm not in championship contention, but my guys are going to get some national games, national exposure, and we can win whatever, the Scottie Pippen tournament, whatever the hell it's going to be called. But for the NBA to do this at a point to where they're already successful as is, to realize that maybe their product's a little stale and stagnant for the regular season, because I think you and I can agree that for the casual fan, probably not watching a lot of regular season basketball, especially if you're a fan of a non-competing team.
Yeah, but one of the other reasons is that early in this season, ratings are down like really, really. The ratings are really, really low this season. And I think that's a byproduct of people always say, oh my God, the dynasty, and everyone hates the Golden State Warriors, and everyone hates this, that, and the other. But the problem is, with NBA, you gotta have somebody to root against. You know what I'm saying? People say you hated the Lakers when they had Kobe and Shaq.
But you were watching.
Golden State Warriors, yeah, you hated them, but you're going to watch. You're going to see any of these teams good enough. Now, you had the Clippers. The problem with the Clippers is that,
they don't play every
night.
night.
Not play, so it's not the same. You got LeBron and AD together, but they're not putting people in seats. And the problem is, both of those are like you never know when AD is gonna get hurt. And LeBron was the big thing in LA last year, and then it didn't work out. So I think it lost some of its luster. So I don't know if there's a team right now that's just putting butts in seats that everyone's getting excited about, like the Golden State Warriors, like the Heatles. You know what I mean? Nobody's just going to see it, because even if I stay up late to watch fucking Kawhi Leonard, he might not play. They might cancel for he might play 10 minutes and not get back in the game. You know what I mean?
Yep. So, but I like what I'm seeing out of the NBA, and the crazy thing is, this is the best and deepest the NBA has been in. I mean, this is the prime of the NBA. This is the best product that the NBA's had, maybe ever. I mean, you can go back to the 80s.
You got to specify what you're talking about, because it's more like diversity of talent. I would say it'd probably be more like the late 90s, kind of like that 5-year stretch in the 90s from like 95 to 99 or 90. You know what I'm saying? Where
you think that was a good stretch?
Yeah.
I think that was a bad stretch. I think that the early 90s was a good stretch.
I think the late 90s, when they had Phoenix, you had a bunch of good teams that had like two talented players. It wasn't any team that had that was super dominant, besides for the Bulls. But even with the Jazz being good, you had Houston out there. You had, you know what I'm saying? You had some good teams.
Yeah, but you look at the early 90s where Portland, Phoenix, I mean, you had legitimately Hall of Famers just littered everywhere.
They were older though, man. I mean, I didn't like so, because we're talking about, I mean, you got to break down the 90s, and you talking about the first three-peat or the second three-peat. That's how I break them down.
Right, and that's all. Before death, after death, like before retirement, we want to figure that out. So.
Yeah, I didn't really think that the first three-peat was that spectacular. The second three-peat I thought was more impressive to me. Like that first three-peat, I mean, you had the Lakers. They beat the Lakers, who was on their last leg. They didn't even have Kareem. You know, they were a good team, but I didn't really like the Lakers. You know what I'm saying? That Portland team, I mean, they looked good then, but now you look back and like, man, that Portland team wasn't that fucking great. I wasn't that impressed with that fucking Portland team. The Seattle Supersonics, when they had Kemp and Peyton, they were a good, exciting team with Dudley Shrimp and Sam Perkins. They were good, but ain't nobody putting them in like an all-time list. You know what I mean? But
except for a what if.
yeah, but
yeah,
then in the second half, you got the Jazz twice. You got the Phoenix Sun team that had Kevin Johnson, Charles Barkley, Richard Dumas.
That Suns team was first half.
The Suns team second half, wasn't it? They played 93. them in they played the Suns 93. Oh shit. So who they play the first year that they in the second three-peat?
Sonics.
Oh shit.
Yeah, Seattle first year, then the Jazz last two.
Oh, okay.
Lakers, Portland, Phoenix.
Either way, my point still stands.
Just wrong. You see how you are? Just wrong. Okay, you wasted everybody's damn time.
I still think the second three-peat had better talent than the first three-peat. Personally, I just think there was more exciting to watch. There was more competitive games. There's more players. I didn't like all the teams. Like I named the finalists, but as far as overall in the NBA, I don't think there was a huge I didn't like the talent team.
So but anyway.
Oh, but hold on. What I wanted to say, I did waste up. Man, I only got two teams wrong. Shut up. Anyways,
said all that to say nothing.
I know, but the point still stands. But what I do want to say, when they kept talking about shortening the season, because part of this thing that the NBA is introducing is that they are shortening the season. But every time they talk about shortening the season, I don't know why I was thinking they were trying to shorten it to like 63 games or some bullshit like that.
No, it's gonna be like 75.
No, I said 78, didn't it?
78?
Yeah, like all this shit that they're trying to implement, they're only gonna take 4 games off. I know the players.
I think 76 is the final number.
Either way. Are you
yeah.
seriously telling me that the players are doing all this fighting for 6 fucking games that they sit out anyway? Most of these players don't play the last 2 weeks anday. So you're fighting and sitting out games all early season to reduce the season by 6 games?
I mean, but yeah, you're losing those games, but you're generating more revenue by doing.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that they're sitting out and they're complaining and the negotiations is for 6 games.
Yeah, no, I get it.
What the fuck, man?
I get it.
If your team sucks, you're probably not playing the 6 games. If your team winning, you're probably not playing the 6 games.
Right. Nobody's playing 82 games.
Nobody's playing those last fucking games unless you're trying to pad your stats to get a bonus or some shit. Like, you know what? Whatever.
So, to kind of go off of what we were talking about, there is so much young talent in the NBA. Like, you and I talk about Doncic. Yeah. We talk about, Giannis, everybody knows about. I mean, even Kawhi. Kawhi's like 27, 28. AD is 26, 27. There's a lot of young talent, but those are our superstars, right? There's a lot of young cats that are flying under the radar, both rookies, second, third year guys. That I'm telling you, if you guys pick a team out there that's listening, if you pick a team, you can find young talent. We already talked about the Sacramento Kings, so we don't really have to talk about them again. But you even look at the Portland Trail Blazers, who just signed Carmelo Anthony. First game didn't go great, and people were on his head about that.
Let me stop you right there. Remember when we talked about? No, we didn't talk. This was in the group chat. I get it mixed up. But addition by subtraction, isn't it funny that Miami loses Hassan Whiteside, and now they're like 4th in the East, looks like a different team. Portland gets Hassan Whiteside, and now they're 5 and 12.
Trash.
So I was listening to some of the analysis. I can't remember who it was. I think it was Reggie Miller. And this was something that I didn't notice. But he said that the reason why Portland is struggling with Hassan Whiteside is because Whiteside set some of the worst screens in the NBA as a big man because he's so worried about getting the ball. So you put that in comparison to like Nurkic, who really set solid screens and opened CJ and Dame up for those threes because he's actually hitting the 3 screens and not worried about getting the ball. That is not happening now. Whiteside setting those lazy screens and rolling that the guards are really having trouble getting. And it's addition by subtraction, but it's the opposite way. You know what I'm saying? Subtraction by addition.
He is lazy
as fuck. But that's not what we're
and just so people know, get off Melo's head, man. The man ain't played basketball a year and a half. Like,
he came back the next game. It was cooking.
Right. Everybody, I don't know why they signed Melo. Melo's trash. Like, man, damn, he ain't played competitive ball in a year. Okay, relax.
I'm on record saying I thought that Melo sign is gonna work spectacularly when Dame get back.
I think it is too.
He's gonna take a lot of pressure.
But as far as young talent goes, I want to actually stick on the Trailblazers. Anthony Simmons is the truth. I like this dude, and I like that 3-guard rotation that they have with him. I like him. That's a guy that. You kind of was wondering if he was going to put it together because he didn't go to college.
Anthony went to prep school one year, and he was one of the guys like Mitchell Robinson that set out and didn't go to college. He got drafted in the first round, but he wasn't ready for them body wise. He wasn't ready. But the GM is on record of saying he's probably the most talented person that they've ever drafted. You might have to wait 2 years to really see it, but he's made an incredible jump from last season to this season.
Oh yeah, he's coming. I know there's a couple guys you want to get to, and we've talked about Trae Young, who would be on that list. Obviously, for me, John Morant,
nice.
And I feel like we talked about
Clark too.
You
can't forget about Brandon Clark.
Brandon Clark. The Grizzlies are putting some nice pieces together, and if Ja can stay healthy, look out. I mean, because that dude is for real. There's legitimately young talent everywhere. We talked about how many teams were ready to give up on Markelle Fultz, and Markelle Fultz is starting to put it together now down in Orlando. And that's the perfect situation for a young rookie. Because you think about like Boston's, stacking all these picks. Philly was stacking all these picks, but those rookies that come into situations where you're expected to win now, you're expected to be developed. It's so much pressure that maybe that's not so good for a lot of these young guys' careers.
That's what I used to say about Fultz. Is one thing is that Fultz, he had this shoulder injury his first year. Then the second year when he actually got healthy, he would get in the game, and then he would try to play his game the way he's supposed to play his game. And the way he played at Washington, you get turnovers because you're trying to make plays. You know what I'm saying? You get deep in the lane, you throw it to him, but that's not the style they wanted. So then they'll kind of get down on him, and his confidence got down. Now you can see every game with the Magic, he's starting to gain confidence. But some of the players, like you said, there's a lot of young players. We talk about Luka, we talk about Trae, we talk about all these players that everyone knows. But the reason why I think this is the deepest time in the NBA is because if you look down the bench, some of these role players would have been stars in the 90s. One player you guys need to look out for on that same Magic team is Jonathan Isaac. This dude, when he came in, he suffered from some ankle injuries. This is his third year. He had 2 kind of down seasons, but the dude not even done growing. Like, he grew 3 more inches over the offseason. He's like 6'10", some say 7 foot. He's an outstanding defender. He's a small forward that's leading the league in blocks, like 3 blocks per game. He gets steals, and he can score. He hadn't even touched his offensive talent, and he's already a defensive threat. So
Orlando has a lot of young talent. Aaron Gordon has become a fantastic NBA player on both sides of the ball. We know what Vucevic can do. He's an all-star. Obviously, he just signed a 4-year deal. We'll see what Mo Bamba becomes. That seems like they probably didn't need to make that.
Yeah, I think they didn't think they could keep Vucevic.
Correct.
I think Vucevic signed him, but I still think there's a move coming. I mean, I heard early in the year that they were talking about going after DeRozan, and I could definitely see Mo Bamba being a great fit in San Antonio. But I've heard that they're looking for a 2 guard. I don't think they're too sold on Evan Fournier, so I'll be looking sometime soon, probably close to the trade deadline. Orlando really trying.
I think they're sold on Fournier. They just know what Fournier is. Fournier is a cat that's going to get you 16 to 20 points a game, but not do much else.
That's the problem with the Magic. They sometimes have trouble scoring. Like, even though you got Vucevic, you got Gordon, they don't consistently get their own shot. I mean, in the playoffs, they're relying way too much on DJ Augustine. So I think they're looking for somebody that could really get their own shot that they can depend on. Which I think DeRozan, that'll be a good fit for him too. It's kind of like early in Toronto where there's less pressure and you got more talent around you. So I would like to see that trade happen. Who else is a young guy that you think people should keep their eye on? I got another one.
This is going to sound crazy because people know his name. But Brandon Ingram, down in New Orleans. If you ask me right now, if you'd asked me last year, who I'd rather have between Brandon Ingram and Ben Simmons, I probably would have still said Ben Simmons. I think at this point for me, I don't really think Ben Simmons has gotten better since his. Definitely not. I think he's the same player he was last year.
Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons be balling, bro.
I like Ben. Though. I just don't think I like that system for Ben.
No, definitely, because that system requires you to shoot a jumper, and that's his problem.
Yeah, I think Ben Simmons is in the wrong system. I don't think he's a bust. I don't think that he's peaked. I don't think any of that. But I think Brandon Ingram, out of the spotlight, again, we talked about young players going to the Lakers is tough. Yep. And playing with LeBron, whatever the case may be, but Brandon Ingram has been cooking. When he is on the court and healthy, New Orleans, New Orleans has so much young talent. I don't know where we're going to go on Lonzo Ball. Dude can't stay healthy.
But his
I like
jumper looks 100
Lonzo,
times
but
better.
looks a lot better. I'm not sure that he's ever going to be an all-star or live up to the potential that he had. I don't ever want to hear anyone say anything about him and Jason Kidd again. But I like Brandon Ingram. Put it that way. If you're not watching that Pelicans team, which I don't blame you for, that dude
Brandon
is for
Ingram,
real.
man. I thought Brandon Ingram always got a bad draw, kind of like D'Angelo Russell. They came into that system, they were expecting them to be Shaq, Kobe, and live up to these expectations, and forget that even Kobe came out and he had to develop into Kobe. They wanted to rush the situation that they didn't appreciate the talent they have, like Julius Randle, Brandon Ingram, D'Angelo Russell. I bet having them now, you know what I'm saying, and letting them develop together, man, that Lakers team would be pretty decent right about now.
Turns out the Lakers do draft well. They just are impatient and they're dumb.
Don't let them develop. But you had D'Angelo Russell, Brandon Ingram, Julius Randle, Zubac all on the same team. You had Montez Wagner last year. Montez Wagner is like 10-8 with the Wizards. You know what I'm saying? They're talented players. And
they gave Zubac away for free.
But another young kid that Brandon Ingram, I definitely agree with you. Another young kid that's not getting a lot of attention is on the Charlotte Hornets. Young Devontae Graham, second-year player. Yeah, they got rid of Kemba Walker. Everybody was like, what is Jordan doing? Why he didn't play on the Supermax? Now I see why. I mean, Devontae Graham, that kid has that swagger about him. He came out of Kansas. Last year he was in there as a rookie. He learned behind Kemba, picked it up really fast. Now the kid is averaging 10 assists. He was coming off the bench, but then just kept outplaying Terry Rozier to the point where they were like, I think Terry Rozier might be better off the bench. Now he's starting. He's he shoots. He made most threes besides for like James Harden in the league. He's averaging like 8 or 9 assists a game, and he really keeps that offense going. This Charlotte team is another team that we were really hard on in the offseason, and they look like they have a ton of talent.
Rightfully so.
I mean, you give away Kemba, but Supermax Kemba, 27, you don't know if he peaked or not. It's kind of making sense now, but with the...
I think they did the right thing by not re-signing Kemba. I think I said that at the time.
I don't know if I agreed at the time, but now I definitely agree with Rozier, Devontae Graham, nice draft pick and drafting P.J. Washington, Miles Bridges looks good. I still think they need to do something about Cody Zeller and Biyombo. They need to fix that situation. But
Batum and I mean they definitely have holes, but they actually now they have young talent that they can build around.
The good thing about Batum is he's a cap placeholder. So if they show enough at the end of the season when that 30, 25 minute, whatever Jordan gave him, falls off the book, they will be able to bring some people in because they do have the camp because they didn't re-sign Kemba Walker and Batum's making a shitload of money. So they'll be able to bring some people in the offseason if this team continue to show talent.
I'm trying to think of who else would be on that list. I mean, we've talked about what they've got in Brooklyn when Kyrie's hurt. Dinwiddie, Karis LeVert, they both come in, and I'm pretty sure that Brooklyn is just like, fuck. You had to sign Kyrie, but that's kind of a no-win situation for Brooklyn. Because I get it. Like, you have to do it, especially in order to get Kevin Durant. But, man, you have a nice thing going.
Durant. I mean, we can't judge. I mean, I was on record saying I don't think they're going to make the play. I was wrong about Boston. Boston's going to be good. You were wrong about Toronto. Toronto's probably – and I do want to talk about Toronto is probably one of the better development teams in the league, period. They develop –
no doubt. You talk about it. I don't know if he's young, and he definitely ain't under the radar, but Pascal Siakam – Fred VanVleet. I mean that.
Fred VanVleet
those
is the truth.
Ojanobi.
If you hadn't watched Fred VanVleet, you probably got a taste of him in the finals. That shit was not a fluke. Fred VanVleet has came out this season cooking, and even though they lost Kawhi Leonard, they have not missed a beat. They got young Chris Boucher, who looks like a young Siakam. You know what I mean? Like they are Nick Nurse and what's the dude's name? Messiah, whatever.
Messiah Ujiri.
They are incredible at finding talent and developing talent because they have some shit in the cupboard, and I don't think that they're going to drop off even after losing Kawhi. Last person I want to talk about, though, is young Kelly Oubre, who the Memphis Grizzlies could have had, but they wanted to hold on to fucking Dylan Brooks. You know what I mean? How good
listen,
would
man,
Kelly Oubre has looked great for the Suns. He's been playing great since the second half of last year. If the Suns right now, if the Grizzlies right now had Ja Morant and they had Kelly Oubre on the same team, could you imagine? What if?
No, I cannot imagine. Okay, instead I gotta look at Dylan Brooks, who had that same stupid ass mohawk since he came in the league.
Bro, I can't believe y'all called that fucking trade off for Dylan Brooks and Marshawn Brooks. Are you fucking kidding me, bro?
You want to know why they fired
and then
the GM?
get Josh Jackson. Come on, man.
You know, okay, so I'm okay with the Josh Jackson thing. Like, the dude was a top 5 pick. You throw him in the D League, let him develop,
that dude's not
start
gonna
out,
play
whatever.
again.
But I agree with you.
Not for Memphis.
Probably not. No, he'll probably be overseas at some point. But yeah, listen, I don't know why you felt the need to kind of poke that stick, but I get it. Whatever, cool. I'll be back.
I'm just saying, young Kelly Oubre is out there cooking. He could have been on the
I know. I live in Phoenix. I watch this motherfucker every day.
He could have been on the Memphis Grizzlies. Yeah. Ja Morant, Kelly, and the energy that he brings, I think he's a large part of what has changed that Phoenix team around. I mean, he takes a lot of pressure off of Devin Booker. Devin Booker doesn't have to worry about getting 70 points every night. Sometimes he can coast and cruise. And as I keep saying, man, people can keep sleeping on this Phoenix team. This Phoenix team is really good, and they're going to be around. I'm not quite sure about Minnesota yet, even though with the fall of like Portland and some of those teams in the West, I think Minnesota might be legit the way Ryan Saunders is coaching. It's just hard for me to fully commit on Minnesota with Cat, man.
So there's a lot of one thing, we talked about why we love the NBA and this, that, and the other, but you mentioned Nick Nurse and Usai Majiri. That is what the NBA is doing right now. Like you're finding talent everywhere. You're bringing in all these international guys. You the smallest colleges, you're gonna get noticed, and you're starting to see younger and younger turnover in the NBA with young coaches, with young GMs, with owners who are forward thinking, as opposed to the NFL, who's still stuck in this mentality of, because how many bad GMs are there in the NFL? How many bad teams are there? Head coaches are in the NFL. You got a guy like Freddie Kitchens. Would it shock you? Or no. Let me ask you this: would it shock you if Hugh Jackson got another head coaching job?
Shit, I just saw a thing saying that Hugh Jackson is going to get another coaching job.
Exactly. You know what I mean? That is the problem. Jack Del Rio would probably get another job. John Fox would probably get another job if they want it.
NFL coaches, NFL GMs don't like the unknown. They just want something stable. You know what I mean?
So I was listening to Chris Long on a podcast recently, and he mentioned that the reason that you get all these recycled and bad head coaches and bad GMs is because A, it's obviously the good old boys club, and B, the players, the best players, the best football minds actually don't want to be coaches. And you see that repeatedly in the NBA. Guys go from the court to the bench or to a front office. You look at Steve Kerr, who got to learn under Phil Jackson, got to learn under Greg Popovich, went and did TV, became a GM, and then went up to Golden State. You know what I mean? You don't see that at all in the NFL. And he mentioned that the best football minds don't want to coach after their careers because it's so demanding. And it honestly, to be frank, it's hard for black players to get that trust to go into positions of power in the NFL. Not saying it's impossible. It's definitely harder for them to do because the leash is a lot shorter, where the NBA is so open-minded and so forward-thinking in that regard that, there's so much shit in the NBA that happens in the NFL that would not fly in the NBA.
It might be better just to go. Like, I just saw Deion Sanders is coaching in Texas, coaching the Texas high school football. Yep. They put you through, and like you said, they have these coaches that they already established, and they recycle and use the same coaches. If I'm a player, do I really want to go through all that to become a coach? I might have to be an assistant for 20 years, and putting in time away from my family. If you're talking about head coaches putting in all this time, what do you think assistant coaches are doing? You've already been away from your family for 10, 12 years playing football, and now you're going to be away coaching. So I can understand it might be better just to come and get a high school job, which you're probably almost guaranteed just on status, you know what I mean? And or college football assistant coaching job, which may not be as demanding. But you're also right, in the NBA, you're going to get a chance. even if it's on as an assistant or something, it's easier for you to get through the system and get a chance to be a head coach as opposed to being in the NFL. Like, I know Rondo's going to be a coach. Whatever you say about Rondo, there's no way that dude's not going to end up being a head coach at some point in time.
Yeah. I mean, but you look at how many times in the past handful of years, I mean, Jason Kidd, Derek Fisher, those guys walked off the court into a head coaching role. Now, was that great? Yeah. Probably not. But that wouldn't happen in the NFL.
Wait till LeBron
you got James Jones, who
GM, which is going to be the next Jordan.
Well, I mean, James Jones did it. He walked and became VP of basketball operations. You've got
doing a good job now.
Who is
now it looks like he's doing great.
You got Trajan Langdon down in New Orleans, and the NBA is also including now they're plucking WNBA coaches and WNBA ex-players like Swing Cash is down there in New Orleans. Like, there's so many basketball minds.
It's kind of hard for the NFL because the NFL doesn't have like smaller leagues, and they don't have, like, you used to have the Euro League where you can send coaches and show. They don't have a lot of places to take coaches from except from college football. With the NBA, like you said, you got the WNBA. Nick Nurse came from the G League. You know what I'm saying? You seen him win like 3 championships in the G League to get a chance. They're opening up a NBA Africa. They're doing a NBA India. They're about to make up. They're about to.
Even the Canadian Basketball League,
the
you're
NBL,
seeing
the
them pluck from there.
Like, you have so many places where you can get coaches from and see that their talent and see that their systems. They're also about to do something with China, a conjunction with China. I mean, there's so many places that you can go to coach and show you can coach, as opposed to the NFL just having the NFL college football. You know what I mean? That's all you really have. And even in college football, you kind of got to be in a blue blood school and prove yourself to even get a shot. They're not taking anybody from fucking Western Kentucky and bring you up to coach. You know what I mean?
I mean, but apparently you can come from Texas Tech and be a loser and get NFL head coaching job.
But that's a one-off. You know what I'm saying? That's like the quarterback that you see that was never good, and you say, you know what, I can take that quarterback and put him in the NFL and it'll work. He has a system, man. That shit, he's not wrong. It ain't proven to be wrong yet.
Yeah. All right, man, before we get out of here, I just want to say again, look for more content from us this week. We are going to drop an NBA podcast. For those of you guys that are new to the show, maybe aren't familiar, the NBA is where we live. That's what we love. That's where our passion is. And we're gonna drop a lot of NBA content over the next few months. We have a website coming, 2smartdummies.com, where you'll be able to see blog posts. You'll be able to see links to all of our podcasts. It's going to be NBA heavy, guys. So get ready. There's a lot that's going to happen that I think you're going to start to see our a lot more offerings for us.
Yeah,
from
man.
us.
Don't be afraid to leave a comment on the Instagram or the YouTube and let us know what you guys would like to hear, what we can do better. We take suggestions. So, but this will be up on YouTube, as you know. Also, you can find us anywhere you get podcasts. If you're listening, you probably already know that. But tell a friend.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Spread the word. Word of mouth is our best advertising.
Tell your people about us. All right, this can be your home for the NBA. Okay, we'll welcome you home. All right, so that's it. That's all. We'll holler at y'all soon. Be looking out for another podcast this week. Happy Thanksgiving. Peace.